You're listening to The Three-Way, the 6v6v6.com community podcast for Warhammer Online, Wrath of Heroes. My name is Gaarawarr, and I'll be your host for each episode of the podcast. This is the experimental episode 0 of The Three-Way, and features myself, Werit from Werit's blog, and Mykiel from Stratix. Obligatory disclaimer, this podcast is rated M for Mykiel and should be treated as not safe for work. All views expressed are merely opinions and should be treated as such.
Alright, so Legendary Heroes, because the last Legendary Hero was out 2-ish months ago. It was the end of October.
Yeah, Halloween,
right? So we had, November, December. It's January. Into January, beginning of December, we should see another Legendary Hero.
So we've had two melee ones, right? Malice and the Red Duke.
Malice and the Red Duke.
And they're both elves, aren't they?
No.
Red Duke's not now?
Vampire count.
He's a vampire count.
Oh,
he's
like
actually, where did he come from? I want to say he was
came from the vampire counts.
No. But I mean, his backstory. Didn't he come from
Bretonia?
I could be totally wrong here. Hold on, let me.
All I know is
I have the game up, so let's find out.
he ate a dragon.
He's got pointed ears.
He dated
No, that's
a
Blood
dragon.
Dragon.
No. He dated a dragon, man. Don't judge people just because they dated a dragon.
Don't be fucking hating.
The Duke of Aquitaine. What the hell is Aquitaine?
Bretonnian.
Bretonian. Okay. So yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was Bretonnian.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, and he's going after the King of Britannia. So, I don't know, whatever. Anyway. But yeah, so we have Malice, who was Spin to Win.
Or Garen.
Yeah.
Spin to Win.
But no, I mean, that's his thing. Yeah.
So
And then there's the Red Duke, who damages himself. So Malice, calls upon his...
Yeah, it's the demon that's bound to the sword.
Bound to the sword. Alright,
Yeah.
So we've got Malice, who triggers the demon that's bound in his sword, like, as his special ability. And then the Red Duke drinks his own blood, apparently, because he takes health away from himself to fire off his abilities.
So it sounds like...
And then he builds up his health like crazy, which is a bit OP.
So it sounds like we're due for a ranged hero, right? Can't have another melee.
Well, it all depends on what you define as ranged.
Well, I, of course, like to see a dwarf. Perhaps an engineer.
Are there any legendary dwarven engineers?
Yes, there's one named Tirwu.
Yes.
Tirwu.
Yeah,
there is a
legendary in a good way, though.
legendary.
Legendarily bad, maybe?
Yeah, that would be legendarily bad. I don't think
You know
good
what?
ones.
Or any kind of range.
I mean, if you're getting into range, we've already got a Shadow Warrior, so you wouldn't want to see a ranged Shadow Warrior. You'd want to see
But we don't have a legendary.
Yeah,
and anyway, we're talking about a Lithanar here.
But they still,
the Shadow King.
But they still talk. I don't know. I don't want to. We've already got. So what do we got? We've got the Red Duke, who's a vampire. We've got Malice, who is an elf, who's a dark elf, right? So we've got dark elf and vampire counts. So it has to be a different army.
A Lithanar.
We actually have two bad guys.
A Lithanar.
So we need a good guy, right?
He fist bumped.
Or a woman.
The Witch King. And like they were bros, like on their own version of Jersey Shore up there in the Dark Elf lands. And he also baned his mom, and then stole a bunch of shit.
So he's got an Oedipus complex, isn't it?
No, he didn't bane his mom. He baned
the other guy's mom. Yeah.
Malekith's mom.
So he's a forum troll.
Dude, I mean, this guy's all sorts of
what your
fucking
mom
nuts.
said last night.
Eltharion, he was like, yo boy, let's get up there and raid the Dark Elves. And the Eltharion's like, I'm all for it. Guess what? Lithanar made it out. Eltharion didn't.
Could they break out Sigmar as a legendary hero?
No, Sid. Volton.
I don't think you could bring Sigmar because that's more... Yes, Sigmar was a human, but he's a god. He's considered god status. I don't know that they would put a god in the game.
Volton was supposed to be the reincarnation of Sigmar. And if
you could see Karl Franz.
Well, let me deal with Volton real quick.
Right.
Most of the time
Tell us about Voltron.
No, Voltron.
That would be sweet.
Most models from the Games Workshop line, this is why I really loved Volton, was that they start off, and his whole thing was that he, I can't remember the exact backstory, I just remember he had the twin-tailed comet on it and some, like, on his chest, like it was a birthmark, and it was supposed to be, that's supposed to be the Herald of Sigmar. Or his return. Well, he fought with two hammers, blacksmiths. He was like being trained as a blacksmith, something like that, and then like beastmen attacked.
We'll never see dual wield.
Hold on. But he did with 2 blacksmith hammers and he wiped these guys out. Then he started getting more powerful. And his first model was him just pretty much like wearing some pants and a shirt with 2 fucking hammers and the tattoo on his chest. But as they progress, his next model had him a little bit more in like human plate armor, as in like the church was getting a hold of him, and I think it was Ulrich was the one that was with him, and so he was like I think they had 2 of them, him on foot and then him on a mount. And so he had a little bit of a beard, a little bit longer hair and stuff. And then they had the one, it was the world event, the Epitome of Evil, I think that's what it was, or the Storm of Chaos. I think it was the Storm of Chaos where Archaon was trying to sit there and wipe out, and then Vulcan was there, and that's when he got the steed from the elves, the armor from the Empire, and the hammer from the dwarves, or something like that, or as the armor was from the dwarves. Pretty much he was the champion.
Right.
But if you look at the train of the models, it's so awesome because you can, I think it's a total of 4 or 5 models, but you can actually see, even though with Games Workshop, the story progresses sometimes it doesn't, depending on which editions they do. But this one with the actual models, you have a progression of that.
So if they were
character.
to take Voltron, then they'd have built-in skin options, which is something we also don't see on Legendaries right now, is Legendaries just have their base skin.
Yeah, but
you could have progression skins.
Yeah,
People could choose which one. Like, I'd want to go for the badass with no shirt and just freaking pants and beat people with blacksmith hammers.
Pretty much he looked like a blacksmith, like a peasant blacksmith.
Yeah.
But that's what he used because it was his adopted father that was killed, and that's what made him go nuts and just like, oh. But if I remember right, I can't remember if they confirmed that he was dead or wasn't, but he was wounded by Archaon, so pretty much Archaon beat him. But then he got his ass beat by the Orc Warlord. But yeah, so they took him back and they're like letting him rest, and when they went in, they like found him disappeared, and there was just a warp stone sword or warp blade that was stuck in the bed. Pretty much, I think this Skaven assassinated him. It's been a while since I read up on that, so I'm just going off of memory.
Yeah.
But Vulcan would be a fucking awesome one to have.
But he'd be melee.
Yeah, I wouldn't fucking care.
Why?
If you gave that, but the whole problem is that you wouldn't have the aspect of him on the sword or the horse. So.
Well, but we can't. Well, yeah, and that's the issue that they talk about with Bretonnians. Is like everybody's like, well, Bretonnians gonna come in, but you can't really do mounted because if you look at Sir Ket's like supposed to be this huge giant tomb scorpion with a full-size mummy body on the back, but they had to shrink it down.
Yeah.
So the mummy looks like he's a mummy of a midget, like smaller than a dwarf, and.
If you should look at some of the.
But who cares? It still looks cool.
Yeah, you look at some of the older models that Games Workshop put out, and you'll see that, of course, due to size limitations, they did have to shrink stuff down.
Oh, yeah.
So Karl Franz is mentioned too, but he'd be melee too.
He'd be melee.
But if we did Karl Franz, then why not Charzanek?
Well, but he's an option too.
But yeah,
but you can't bring him in. Well, I guess you could. What technically is he just? He would be a warrior of chaos, legendary, yes.
Well, yeah, it'd be. He's the pretty much. It's. If I remember right, that when people complain about the lore about Archaon, well, with Warhammer Online, just look at his like that whole like split timeline, and Archaon the Ever-Chosen never came to power, and instead Charzanek was the one that. But except he was towards Tzeentch.
Okay.
So yeah, if I remember right, that's how it's supposed to be.
So that would be an option, but then there's, I mean, what were the models of the models that were already in Warhammer Online?
The model
of Age of Reckoning. You still have, you've got the High King, the Dwarf High King, which was his name. Crap. I should know this, being a dwarf.
Thorgrim. No,
Yeah.
that's fucking.
No.
That's.
Well, anyway, you've got those models in. There's the elf one. What was the elf?
About dwarves?
It's Teclis.
Finnevar.
Right? Oh, the Finnevar. But
Yeah.
then, wasn't Teclis in there too?
Teclis. Tyrion was supposed to be in there. Tyrion, the twins. Tyrion and Teclis.
Right.
Just think of him sort of like Raceland and Cameron. Except he's not fucking evil powerful. He's fucking just the sickly powerful. And the other one is just the badass martialist, and the other one is the physical magic aspect. But I think I'm going back off the collector's edition comic.
But there are a lot of models they can use straight out of.
There are.
And I know from doing some of the PQ stuff, there's some pretty awesome orc ones, but I don't remember any ranged greenskin ones that were like legendary hero. Yeah, I don't really remember running into any of those.
Oh well, I mean this sort of.
I think you'd get more into like if you were gonna do that, you'd end up getting like a shaman or something. What was the? What are the two that they used that were the two together that you got as the?
Oh,
the model, if you got the collector's edition?
It was...
Grumlock and Gasbag?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, Grumlock and Gasbag.
So you could have one of those.
But it's...
Come out like Master Blaster.
That's pretty much what it was.
The legendary hero is Grumlock and Gasbag, and you got him on his shoulder, and he runs around, and one of them fires off his range stuff, and the other one pounds people into dust.
Imagine the smack talk that you could do.
Oh, I think
just run around and just be like, "Welcome to Bartertown" the whole time. But speaking,
two orcs enter, no one else leaves.
I can't think of a legendary squig herd off the top of my head, but
there's a legendary squig though.
There's legendary.
There's Ard Defeat.
Ard Defeat.
Can you imagine Ard Defeat bouncing around?
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. That would be an awesome summon.
He would be, but he could be a hero on his own.
Yeah, he could. But
we got your big bouncing, you know, bouncing around. You could maybe spit stuff out because he would spit out and it would be corrosive, and it would remove all your armor. That was the thing about fighting Ard Defeat, was that you could walk in there with as much armor as you wanted, but he would corrode it all away.
In the army books, codexes, no matter what, they always have backstories, the fluff, the flavor text, whatever. And so, I mean, teeny weeny, Croc-Gar, or Lizardman. It's like weird names of like people, like the Wood Elf Squawk, the guy that rode the and I think it was like the War Falcons or something like that. You had these different names for these different characters that it's just like, well, I think it's, you turn around just reading and then all of a sudden there's like a small little bitty one-page blurb story that mentions something interesting about one specific character or what they did that you don't have a model for it, you don't have rules for it, but the idea and concept is there.
Right.
And so that it probably takes some digging in some cases, but that could be utilized and then just use and modify a skin. I mean, how many different sets of armor do we have for like each one of the...
Legendaries don't have any different ones.
No,
they just have their own.
But we have the like legendaries, the legendaries like Malice and all that. Yeah, that's the sort of dictating. But what if there's like, okay, this is a legendary squig herder. It was mentioned over in this. Yeah, it might not be the most like...
I think they're probably going to go for the bigger names though. Well, for the most part.
I mean, if they're going to go with the big names, then I mean, Tirwu. Tirwu, like a dwarf engineer. I mean, there's no bigger name than that.
It wouldn't be fair to anybody in the game.
What are you talking about?
Because, you know, we've already got a horrible engineer in the game, and no one needs a second one. Oh, wait. Oh, that's bad. Did I just call Durek bad? Oh, I didn't call
him. You turn around and kill it?
No, I don't think they would. I don't think they would bring in a second. It would have to be something that you kind of own. Well, I guess you kind of already have it. I don't know. One thing I mean, with the most recent one, with the Red Duke, I mean, we didn't have vampire counts almost at all. You had the one. Nethys. You had Nethys.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you get the Red Duke, and then you get Wilhelm and oh my god, why am I losing my name? What's the other guy's name?
Oh man.
Bone Chewer. You get Bone Chewer and Wilhelm all at the same time. So all of a sudden you went from having one to having four. So what if they brought out one of, something that they either only have one of? Like we only have one
Wood Elf.
We only have one demon right now. We only have one Wood Elf. We don't have any Beastmen or Lizardmen.
Yeah. Lizardmen. But the problem
you could see here like a legendary shows up, and then all of a sudden maybe you get a couple heroes in a row.
Even though that is the Wrath of Heroes motto is "fuck the lore, let Sigmar like sort it out."
No, that's my motto.
Okay, that's your motto. What's a motto? What's a motto with you?
But fuck the lore, let Sigmar say
I'm
it.
pretty sure that in like most it's like when people are talking about the Lizardmen, they're like, oh, I want to be a Slam Mage priest on his Palanquin. I'm like, are you kidding? Even the 5th generation ones can like fucking reshape mountains, and you're like saying that you're running around and fucking and you get killed by a fucking
you wouldn't
rat.
then be you wouldn't be a hero at that point. You would be, if you were gonna bring that guy in, he would have to be a weakling.
Yeah.
To be even balanced in the game.
But they had different spawnings. There's no more first spawnings, which were the most powerful. I think there are a couple of second left, but the majority of them are the 5th. So they're, I mean, compared to everyone else, these guys are gods. But I mean, in the grand scheme of the Slam Mage priests, they're fucking jokes in like power. And so it's
there are members of the Lizardman army that are more realistic to bring out.
It's
but then how do you do a legendary? Because you don't really see a whole lot of Lizardmen in the first place. And then you want to have a legendary Lizardman hero?
I think it's Teeny Weeny, the Herald of Sotek. He's a skink priest. Or he's a skink with the red fin mohawk. He's like a little bit, pretty much he's like a warrior. I think he's one second, I'm searching this.
So the first one that comes up here when I look is Venerable Lord Croak.
No, Venerable Lord Croak is first spawning. He's dead.
He's the first one. Okay, so
he's dead,
he's
but
way too strong.
He's actually so powerful that he's still alive, but he's just a mummified corpse that's sitting on the Palanquin, but he's still there. He's dead though. It's just his sheer force of will. And his power is reduced because he's in this form, but the guy can like still destroy continents.
So, you know.
Yeah, it's like the Herald of... Oh yeah, wait, yeah. Hold on. You scroll down.
We got
right there. Up. Yeah. Teeny Weeny Prophet of Sotek.
That's not his name.
Yeah, it is.
Teeny Weeny?
Yeah, it's Teeny Weeny.
It looks like Tahanwan or something.
It's Teeny Weeny.
Teeny Weeny?
Yeah, it's Teeny Weeny. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. So yeah, Prophet of Sotek. Right.
Yeah, you're dealing with a company that I love Games Workshop for doing this with their names. An assassin killed Conrad Cruz, who's the Primarch of the Night Lords in 40k, who called himself Night Haunter, who was killed by a Calidus assassin named M. Shin. Kurtz and Martin Sheen. Pretty much the whole background story and all that, it's a reference, like pop culture reference to Apocalypse Now.
Great. So yeah, it actually, this one, you know, Teeny Weeny, Prophet of Sotek, could come into the game because his lore actually says he leads the faithful of Sotek in ceaseless wars against the vile Skaven.
Yeah.
So you automatically have built-in murderer Skaven.
Yeah. And everyone hates those Skaven anyway.
Yeah.
They'll kill stealers.
Yeah, no one would ever want Skaven in the game.
It's his destiny to bring about the incarnation of the serpent god himself. So there you've got a perk. Okay?
Have any legendaries had perks with them?
I don't think they have.
No,
but I think that's. I would
of
kind of like to see. They tend to. They're very heavily focused on having either alternate abilities for themselves or hero-specific tactics for themselves.
Yeah.
So all of their stuff is kind of built in to boost themselves and not necessarily generically help anyone else.
Right.
I personally don't know if I'm down with that. I kind of like that idea, but I would like to see. Maybe it's because they don't want you to have to spend 200,000 gold, because they are gold only, to get a perk.
Right.
And that might be the only way you access it.
Yeah.
But, Anyway, so even if you got rid of the perk, he's still got his own. He's got a knife, but he's cut the heart out of somebody. So hey, that's good. Still
got one ability right there, heart cutting.
Heart Ripper. Although that's on Coraline.
Well, Indiana Jones action.
It's okay. You got Sotek. Yeah, Teeny Weeny, the Prophet of Sotek. I mean, that would be a good choice for the Lizardman. Who else do we got? I mean, since we're not going with, I'm going to try to stay away. Even though I say Lithanar, I think that would be a good one, just because I love him. Krokgar, but I mean, of course, we'd have to have him on Grimlock, his fucking Carnosaur. But we could probably...
You could shrink him down. I mean...
we'd want him to just go. But see, the problem with Lizardmen is that the color of their skin, all the different things, that's why Teeny Weenie's Mohawk is red, because red is supposed to, if I remember right, is supposed to like signal Sotek. It all depends on their spine and their colors. It's like if they're albino, that means that they're set for greatness, and there's actually a story, I can't remember the Croxagora's name, but these are the big 3 wound ones and all that, but he's albino. And he's like that. All that stuff gets put into a specific flavor text or lore aspect, and so you would have some people rage about that. Oh, this one's yellow. He's supposed to be faster, but yet his movement speed is.
But they might be able to build it. I mean, there are things already that are faster than others. So, I mean, I guess there's ways you could try to work around it.
Well, I mean, it's just the mind-numbing aspect of lore junkies on how crazy they'll get. There are some people that will take the lore truthfully to where it cannot be screwed with in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so, I mean, I think it's Bretonia. It is Bretonia, the Green Knight. But of course, he's on horseback, but it would be cool if he...
But he could not be. I mean, you could still have
they could shrink him down a little bit.
I mean, I'm just saying you could still put him on foot.
You could put him on foot, but the Green Knight, I think, would be a good choice.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to get into his story because I can't pronounce most Bretonian names. Bretonia, Empire, yeah, I mean, the best ones that we could possibly do, we already mentioned those.
So here's my question is, would they be able to do a legendary dwarf hero? Could they bring in the White Dwarf?
You know what?
I mean, I know he takes on a different form every year in terms of the models they put out, but
well,
I mean,
yeah,
he is the legendary dwarf, right? I mean, probably one of the most well-known names. So could they pick something and bring him in, or is that not?
I don't think Games Workshop would ever allow something
No.
like that. If they did, it would be epic and it would be pretty cool. But I mean, they just before. I mean, it's like they already changed the covers of like how the White Dwarf art, where now they're like with different art instead of like the White Dwarf like sitting to the side. Yeah, so I'm trying to look at it. I mean, I would think that would be okay. I mean, you have other ones that you could do. I would like to see.
Oh, and it is Thorgrim is the High King.
It is Thorgrim?
Yeah, Thorgrim Grudgebearer.
What did I say? Did I say Thorgrim?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember if I said Thorgrim or Thorgrim.
Now there's another one here called Thoric Ironbrow.
Yeah, that's a decent one.
He's a rune lord.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that's like a rune priest, yes?
Yeah, but I think
better?
he's the one who gets carried around by people, doesn't he?
No, I don't know. Here he's got his Anvil of Doom, so I don't know.
Okay, yeah, he's the animal.
I think you're talking about Dwarf King Ulrich and his shield bearers.
Yeah.
Which would be hilarious because he's on top of a shield and then there's two dwarves carrying him.
But
I would love to see that running around a battlefield.
but I mean, that's like saying Grecius Goldtooth with the Nobblers.
Yeah.
Because he's like
Gotta hate Nobblers.
Yeah, but he's being carried around by Nobblers that are under him. If
Yeah,
you look, the
hilarious.
model was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
He's just sitting up there with like this huge ham hock eating it. It's like a huge turkey leg. He's eating it and he's just like sitting on all this gold and a bunch of Nobblers that carry him around because he's just so fucking fat.
So we only have one Daemon of Chaos. So that's right for having a legendary hero because if they have like we said, we had Nephis and then we went straight into 2 more vampires.
What are you talking about? Like
a legendary. So
like
could you have a legendary Daemon of
specifically
Chaos?
named characters?
What's the latest one?
Nikari. I mean, dude, you could go ahead and pull Nikari.
Yeah, Keeper of Secrets.
Yeah, Nikari.
What army's the latest hero? It's her stage.
Harg.
Harg.
He's an ogre.
Ogre.
He's of the ogre kingdoms. Yes.
Yeah. It's,
So yeah, you could bring in a Keeper of Secrets. That would again be another melee one.
Yeah, because Nikari, you got Nikari, you got...
I think I would like to see, if they were going to bring in a Daemon, I'd like to see a Great Unclean one.
A Great Unclean one.
But would they be too big?
Fuck, they got I cannot remember. This is the bad part about this, is like focusing on all the different armies, is that it's hard for me to remember some of them off the top of my head.
I mean, there's definitely some names here. There is Epidemius.
Epidemius is the one I'm thinking of.
One of the 7 proctors and pestilence. In the
Yeah,
catalog
he should be a plague. He's a plague bearer, right? He looks like a plague bearer's crooked hook on his head.
He's on a big
yeah.
throne, so it's hard to say.
Yep, yeah, you got that.
There's also the Mask,
which is Slanesh.
She's a daemonette.
Yeah, she's a daemoness. Slanesh was his most prized one, I think, or his second one.
I gotta say that's pretty cool artwork.
Oh yeah, it is. The mask with how she flips it up and down.
Yeah,
that's nice. You got it.
So we could see, you can still, even though that's kind of a strange thing to think of as daemons having legendary daemons, but there are. I mean, there's even in Warhammer Online right now, like in Age of Reckoning, you've got Nakari.
Oh yeah,
she's
I don't even remember.
You know,
it's been so since I've been to Bastion Stairs, the fucking bloodthirster that's in the Greater Demon of Khorne.
Yes, the Daemon Prince, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he?
I can't remember his name.
I don't remember his name either. But yeah, he was.
I mean,
that was unfortunately one of the cooler fights in the game, and it was at lower level.
As big
I mean, it was at level 40 pretty much, but still.
As big as that motherfucker was.
Oh, that was.
When you go in, I mean, you're like the size of his hoof, and you're like,
you barely come to the top of his hoof. Yeah.
What the hell is about to happen? I mean, yeah,
he beats the crap out of you.
Yeah, I mean, not anymore.
No, but
I'm all growing up. You can't hit me anymore.
So there's definitely a lot they could do.
Yeah. And then plus they got specific chaos champions for each one of the gods that.
That's the one thing, and that's the one thing they haven't gone into yet is getting into the variety of.
I mean, I honestly
branching out. Everything so far has kind of been along the lines of what was already in Age of Reckoning.
Well, just
I mean, not everything. Obviously, there's new things.
Yeah.
Like the zombies and the ghoul. Bonecher and Wilhelm were new.
Yeah. What is it? Sigvald. That would take a lot of artwork, but I just like Sigvald. I just do. Sigvald, if you don't know who it is, just read up on him. It's the Eternal Sigvald, the Eternal Prince, I think that's what his name is. Or whatever. It's awesome. I think his rapier is called Quicksilver, and then he has the cool Slanesh symbol style shield. It's just a really good put together item. And then I think the old one that was a champion of Slanesh was Striker, which that model looked cool as well because he had one foot that was normal and another one that was sort of like the kicked back demonette foot.
Right.
And so it's like you see him like in different parts of him like going through the transformation of his mutation from being like a worshiper of the god. Slanesh, and so you got to see those.
Brings a new meaning to being bow-legged, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I have a question.
Yeah.
Since we've been talking about lore for a while, if there was one thing you guys wanted to add to Wrath, what would it be?
Spectator.
No,
really?
not right now. I would like to see it eventually.
Well, okay.
Well, do we want to say this just in general, or like, are we talking right now? If they would add something right now.
Right now.
Right now.
It's
like lore-wise, or just in general?
Just in general.
It's something that I found myself watching a lot in Firefall because since my computer's busted on my laptop, I can't play anything. But with Firefall, I can log in and I can go to the queue for the PvP, but watch the previous matches. And so I can watch like, oh, this match that just happened 10 minutes ago. And I think they're up to 83,000 that you can watch already.
Wow.
But you pretty much just sit there, and during it's 2 5-man teams depending on how many it is, and so I can go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that takes me to whoever it is on that, and so I can sit there and keep watching this one over and over. I can watch it if it's 5-on-5. I can watch it 10 times. But each time I can watch it from a different point of view of just one person the whole time, or I can switch it out. I can go free mode, but it's interesting when you do that with one, and you just sit back. It's like, I want to watch Gaarawarr. I want to watch Jed play this whole match. But it turns out that he's in the match with you, but you're on another team. And so I want to see this whole match from your point of view.
Pretty robust system.
But it's
because even League of Legends, they have their spectator mode, but they don't really allow you to watch recorded matches. So, but you can jump around to the different people, you know. in the middle of the game, just like that. You can hit a button, go straight to them, or you can let they have the directed camera, which attempts to jump to the action, which actually sometimes works fairly well, mainly because it's a pre-recorded match. Even if it's going on live, even if you're supposedly watching, quote unquote live, it's actually 2 to 3 minutes already recorded.
Yeah,
so the system already knows what's going on.
It's the NFL red zone.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, no, I would like to see it in Wrath of Heroes, mainly because then people could go back and watch, and that's one of the reasons you live streams and videos and stuff. But if it was in the client, you can actually sit there and watch, and hopefully get better. Like, what did we do wrong here? Well, they flanked you out around the back because you weren't paying attention, or what was it that they were doing over here that how did they kill me so easily? Well, if you watch the rotation, this was the animation that came up to show that they were firing off this ability, and then this guy had you focused, and you were done. No, like it would at least allow you to, if you cared, to go back and do that.
No, a good example is that you guys are both familiar with Firefall. I'm sorry I'm getting off of the subject, but just how the view of the recorded video looks. Now, I know the people who are listening to podcasts can't see this, but okay, so as an example, I'm the sniper. So it'll show me sitting there like this, but I can see like people moving and all this stuff, so it's just as if I was looking at the screen, but when I zoom in, because it'll show like the sniper reticle appear up, except it's still me. I just have like this little bitty like watermark. Instead of me looking through the scope, I don't see that. I just turn around and see them like kill some dude. But I know that they went to sniper mode, and all of a sudden they switched out and they jumped over to another position and then went. And then it has the instant replay of specific kills. Like one of them that I saw, it's like 2 guys were jumping, and like with snipers the bullets will go through, but it's like, okay, he killed this person, and then it does like a slow-mo replay of the kill, and then it goes on to continuing the game. But I say spectator mode, but I would actually like that the most.
So that's more, almost instead of spectator, it's more replay mode.
Well,
because those are two vast different distinctions.
Oh, well, I would love
Okay.
to do spectator and like watch a live game, but you know what? One night I may not be able to actually physically concentrate on playing, but I'm in the middle of working. I can turn around and like sit there and like while something's going, I can turn around and sit there and watch, and I do have the ability to pause it.
Right.
So I'm watching this match. Oh, sweet, cool. Oh man, they weren't joking. Someone on Twitter was saying it's like someone was wrecking the house tonight, and I just happened to sit there and see one of the matches. I'm like, man, those guys are just rolling face.
Yeah, well, no, that's kind of like, because LoL had a replay. I think it was made by somebody other.
It was like, it took like the TCP packets. It did.
And it rebuilds the entire game. And you can watch it from anybody's perspective as if it was a spectator mode. But you can go back and record. You basically can effectively play your game and then go back and watch it again to see what was going on. And then you can can't you post them up for other people to watch?
Yep.
Yeah, so that would be an interesting, I think that would be good, because then you can pause it, which is something you can't necessarily do with a spectator mode. Well, you can with LoLs, but I mean, to be able to go back and forth and check everything out again, I think that would be good. And it would help to keep that, kind of build up a database of watching different matches.
Yeah,
because with the spectator mode in LoL, you can't go back and watch another match again. It just happen.
Have it to where, because with that, okay, so it's tag it, and then it's now under your profile as in like, oh, it's one of my favorite videos. Maybe one that you participated in, maybe not. You just like, you know what? Watch this guy playing Nethys.
Yeah.
Watch who's playing Nethys. I mean, they're doing a really good job. Look at how they're like functioning, running in and out, to where it's you can sit there and pinpoint these are the videos that you want to watch if you want to sit there and like see a little bit of a play style for Nethys or Korith or whatever in cross-dressing dwarf name is.
Slayers aren't cross-dressers. It's just because they wear thongs doesn't mean they're cross-dressers. So what would you want to see in the game if you could have one thing?
I'd probably try to revamp the leaderboard. As we just checked, it was like 60,000 to 69.
The top score currently, number one, as we were recording this, is over 61,000 points. And the bottom score that I know of, obviously you can't look at the bottom, but I have someone on my friends list. I'm not naming names. It's not their fault. They have 69 points. I don't know if they aimed for that and now aren't playing anymore. That'd be a good place to stop, I guess. But there's a couple people that are below 100 on my friends list. People that just added me.
Me and Daddy are getting a divorce.
No,
it's not your fault.
It's not your fault. Well, it's not their fault. It's not. 69, 75, 79. They'll know who they are when they hear this. But, I mean, what are they going to do? They're all newer players. I can go to their profile. This person is tier 1, level 12, so fairly new, right? That was the 69.
Tier 1 is fairly new.
Tier 1 level, yeah, because if you think about how many XP boosts you get when you go through that new player quest, that's fairly new. I mean, you don't have to play a lot to get to tier 1 if you're playing when those boosts are on,
Sure.
you know? Let's see what the next person is. Tier 2, level 1. Technically, that means they could have gotten to tier 1, finished the new player quest, and then sold off a lot of tactics and gotten tier 2 for free with the XP boost, like 500%. So they're technically not overly up there. They could have been playing for a while though. I guess I should look at how many games they were playing.
But yeah, I guess it all comes down to match.
But see, here's what it matters though. Here's this tier 1, level 12, number of wins, 34. That's it. You got to imagine they played
a lot.
120 games, maybe. 120,
Probably more than
150.
that if they have 69 points.
Yeah. I mean, because you had to get down to 69.
Yeah, no,
But when all you're doing is facing high-level players, even as a new player, all you're gonna do is lose, and your score's gonna go down, 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 down.
it's nice to get the bonus points for fighting against those good groups, but it doesn't help your score at the
You
end.
get XP. Well, that's just it. You get XP.
You get
so
XP.
how do you think you jump up through the? That's another way you jump up really
yeah, it
quick.
doesn't
You're
help
getting
your
double the
score at all.
XP, and you got a bonus, and so you can be tier 2 or tier 3 and have an incredibly low score just because all you're ever playing against is high-level players.
So
Great.
So you're
You're
feeding that person. That has nothing to do with it, jackass. So you're feeding those people with 30,000 to 60,000 points on the leaderboard. You're giving them those points, and then the bottom end is the people on top on the other side of that are below 100.
So it comes down to matchmaking and queue times. Do we want
Oh,
good matchmaking
boy.
and longer queue times?
I'm not even going to talk about that person's score.
Where it looks tired.
Or why it's that low.
I think the drugs are kicking in. Do I get the duct tape?
Help! Help!
We've already been kidnapped once
I
on
need
these
an
trips.
adult.
Show me on the miniature with Michael touch.
Oh wait, I'm not.
All right.
Oh, that's not the miniature he was speaking of.
Oh, good lord.
So to get a real matchmaking system, we have to sacrifice queue times.
We already have a real matchmaking system.
Do we? Because
Yes, it worked very well.
69?
It worked very well when it first came out. Why? Because we had a population of people who were, of various levels of experience. But it matched them against each other. Because one of the biggest complaints we had when it came out was, all I'm doing is playing the same group over and over and over again. It's the same high level group of, well, you're high level and you're good, so guess who you're gonna... It works in that sense. What we've run into a problem too is it's not allowed to work because it doesn't have the people to pair you against.
Right. So we need more population.
But we can't get a higher population because when these new players come in, they see you the top level on the leaderboard, even the 15. The bottom person on the leaderboard of 15 is at 30,000 points. The highest one is 61,000. So even the highest one is twice as many as the lowest person, which is crazy if you think about the fact that they're only 14 places behind them on this leaderboard, and they're twice as many points. So what is it? How is a brand new player ever going to think that they're ever going to advance if they're in the hundreds of points, and they're always going against the people that they can look and see are on the top of the leaderboard?
And the top will just keep going higher and higher. There's nothing to keep them down.
Apparently, there's nothing that takes the score away. I don't understand how the score works. That makes no sense. But no matter how it works, even if it's working right, it's not working well because of the what it imparts, the way it looked. Like the way it looks to me is, I can never catch up to that person ever. No matter how much I play, I'm never gonna get that high.
Would a team queue be an answer, or just not enough teams?
I don't know. I mean, there's two different ways we talk about it on the forums, obviously a lot. There's solo queue and warband queue.
What?
What would honestly happen there is that the warband queue would go crazy long. You could probably wait 20 to 30 minutes to get a match. But it would be a highly competitive match because you'd be placed against other warbands. Whereas solo queue would get pops frequently because more people would be playing solo. It would be like League of Legends. What you have there is you have solo queue where the majority of players go because they get quick games and they're competitive games because the matchmaking system can work. It can work the way it's supposed to. It can match you against other people of your skill.
And they only have to deal with 10 players, where we
have
with 18.
We have to deal with 18. We've got numbers against us twice. But when you really want to play competitively and get a ranked match in, you play in a pre-made, and you even in LoL, and you go queue in the other queue, and even if it takes a while, that's what you do.
What if they did a Winds of Magic, where it's 1 week, the whole week, where it's you have to constantly continue to play to keep your number up, to keep people from saying, oh, I only want to queue with my pre-made, and so I'm not going to play this week when they change it. But 1 week is, for some reason, the Winds of Magic are all sorts of screwed up to where it's only pugging for that week. And then another week, it's only warbands.
Well, the problem with that is the fact that the week, like you just said, the week that it's only pugging, everybody that only wants to play in warbands will just not play.
Yeah, but their scores suffer, and so you'll have the
But scores don't suffer now.
But you add something to where the score suffers if they don't play.
I think they just wouldn't care.
Oh,
I think it'd be a double finger to them is the way they'd look at it. They'd be like, you're standing over here doing this.
I look at it as a bitch move. If you're good, if you enjoy playing, then you play.
But I don't. But that's just it. I think a lot of people would just not play that week and deal with it, and then not care about the leaderboard because the leaderboard doesn't really work anyway.
Okay.
But and then conversely, when it becomes all warbands, I would never play because I don't want to sit in a lobby and try to find a warband with 5 other people that I could give a crap about, and I just want to be able to queue and play a competitive game.
Okay, theirs was a bitch move. Yours was a bitch excuse.
Well, but that's going to be the thing either way. The thing is that people like to enjoy the game different ways, and I think you should allow them to enjoy the game both ways without forcing them to do it one way or the other. However, when you make that choice, just like before, when we had the Q as a warband bonus gold reel, I made the choice consciously to give the finger to that reel.
Yeah,
because I wanted to play that way.
I think
it's the same with
it's the same with
pissed
you off.
Yes, it's the same with queue times. I think if you want. I truly do think that, I mean, and we can ask Mythic to see what their numbers are. I truly do think there are more solo players than there are warband players. It may be a little exaggerated towards warband simply because they had that gold reel for so long that people got into the habit of just trying to find a warband. But I truly think most of those warbands are no more than just glorified pugs.
Yeah.
They're not truly people working together that are used to working together.
Oh, yeah.
So why can't they just queue solo, get matched with other people that are actually like them, which they think that aren't going to happen, but will, and then play out good matches. I mean, I've had some good matches with people that were most definitely not in warbands in the last couple of weeks doing the live streams. And we had nice competitive long matches that people actually said in during the game, this is a lot of fun. What the hell? Like, it was a shock that the game could be fun. Right. Well, it is when you're matched against people that are like you. But then you get into the ones with the pre-mades and you're just like, well, I guess it's us versus blue while orange wins. Well, let's see what happens, you know? Like, and it's a battle for second place.
That's when I roll a Volric and just mess with people.
you turn into Troll Rick? Yeah. A new leaderboard system, I think, definitely would be a good thing, but I think you've got to pair it up with, it's got to matter. I think we need, for it to matter, you have to have, you can't put solo players and warband players on the same leaderboard.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to group in a group, there needs to be a group leaderboard. And to do that, you have to have separate queues. You would have to have, in my mind, you would have to have a solo queue and a warband queue so that you would truly be building separate rankings for yourself.
Right.
You know, this is how I do when I'm solo and just have to suffer with everybody else. This is how I do when I'm in a group. You know, and you can show with that, you can show that solo, I'm a pretty good player. Got a pretty good rank. It's a little better than everybody else because I can communicate well, I can work with a team. I know how to switch my heroes out to be more appropriate. In a warband, I have a good ranking because I'm a good team player. Like, you can, and you know, if one ranking is bad, that either, you know, if the warband ranking is good and the solo's bad, well, someone gets carried a lot. You know, and if it's the other way around, it's, well, maybe they've got an ego and don't like to work for the team. You're learning one way or the other, you know, how good they are.
And while that may hurt the team queue, because there may not
in
be
the short term,
but in long term, it'll bring more players in because there'll be better matches in solo.
That would be the hope.
And then they'll go to teams.
Because you don't start. It's very rare. Some people did start the game with a group of friends that they've played with since the beginning. But for the most part, people start this game by themselves, and then make friends or get their friends in. Well, the only way you're going to give an enjoyable game to those people is if you give them an enjoyable solo game to play. Like, right. not solo in the terms of selfish, like stupid, you know, guy running around just worried about himself, but solo in the terms of I can log in by myself when none of my friends are on or whatever and still have a fun competitive match. So if you can't offer that game at the core, then how is the team game ever going to be good?
Right.
Because you're going to lose a lot of people. And you're never going to have the ability for those people to even become teams.
You bring up a valid point.
And he's not going to say anything else because he doesn't want to admit that I did something good.
No, I'm trying to keep him laughing.
Yeah, asshole.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Three-Way. Stay tuned to 6v6v6.com for your chance to be in a future episode. Until next time, have fun, everyone.